Alright guys, it is now time for my week 3 picks of the 2023 NFL season, as last week I went 9-7. At one point I was 6-7 I believe, so I had a terrible week last week, but the last 3 games I turned around and win 3 in a row to get to 9-7. And of course, here is the regular season stands and the playoff stands of the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Dolphins with the bye, with Chiefs at Ravens, Steelers at Jaguars, and Jets at Raiders. And in the NFC, it's the Cowboys with the bye, with Buccaneers at 49ers, Commanders at Falcons, and Saints at Packers. And my Super Bowl prediction right now is the 49ers over the Dolphins. Alright, so now let's get to my Week 3 picks, as we start off with Thursday night tonight, as it's the Giants at the 49ers for the first time since 2018. 49ers won the last one. Giants haven't beaten them since... No, the 49ers haven't won at home since 2017, as they try to get to 3-0 for the first time since 2019. As the Giants, oh my god, after the horrible game against the Cowboys, they were getting obliterated by the Cardinals, like 20-0 going into the halftime. Then they were down 28-7. And then all of a sudden, they turned it around offensively and ended up winning in a huge comeback, which honestly did salvage their season for at least a moment. But of course, it was a bittersweet victory as Saquon got injured and he is not playing in this game. So yeah, that's not good. 49ers, meanwhile, hard-fought game, but they beat the Rams as they lead the division. I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one. And then we get to Sunday action, as it starts off with the Colts at Ravens for the first time since 2021. Ravens won the last 3. The Colts haven't beaten them since 2014. They haven't won in Baltimore since 2009. The Colts, pretty impressive game when they beat the Texans, as Richardson looked really good rushing the ball, but then he got injured. So yeah, he got concussion. So I don't even know if he's going to be playing either, too. That's unfortunate for him. And the Ravens, hard-fought game, but they actually beat the Bengals to my surprise, as they are now 2-0, trying to get 3-0 for the first time since 2016, as they're leading the AFC West. This actually could be an interesting game. Remember the game 2 years ago on Monday night when the Colts had that 25-9 lead and they choked it away? If Richard was in there and JT was playing, that would make it very interesting, but JT's not playing, and I have no idea if Richard is or not. So I'm probably going to have to pick the Ravens for this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts pull off the upset. And then it's the Titans at the Browns for the first time since 2019. As the Browns won the last one, the Titans haven't beaten them since 2019. The Browns haven't won at home since 2015. As the Titans got a needed, and I mean needed, victory over the Chargers to end like one of the longest losing streaks in the league. That was like an 8-game losing streak, as they're at 1-1. The Browns, meanwhile, they choked against the Steelers. Oh, they had it and they choked it too, which sucks because they have like the best defense in the league. I haven't seen stats like this 2-2-2-1 since maybe the 2020 Colts early on in the 2020 season. Like, this defense 2 games in is elite. And now they're going to have to go up against a team that isn't good but always finds some way to stay close and win games potentially. But I'm going to pick the Browns for this one, but I guess I won't be surprised if the Titans get it. And then we get to a couple big NFC matchups. NFC South at NFC North, as the Falcons are at the Lions for the first time since 2017. As the Falcons won the last one, the Lions haven't beaten them since 2020. And they haven't won at home since 2006. As the Falcons try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2017. As the Falcons, hard-fought victory, but they did do it. They beat the Packers. So that possible 2-0 start they actually got. Now, are they legit, though? That's a whole different question. That's a good start for them, though, at least. Meanwhile, the Lions, hard-fought victory. They kind of disappointed early on before rallying back to lose the Seahawks in overtime, just like how they lost a close game last year. This game could be interesting, as the Lions, with one of the best offense in the league, are going to have to go up against so far one of the best defense in the league other than rush defense. Maybe they should rely running the ball a lot, potentially. So yeah, this will be interesting. We'll go down to the wire like the last time they visited them in 2017. But I'm going to pick the Lions for this one. And then another big matchup, as it's the Saints at the Packers for the first time since 2017. As the Saints won the last one. The Packers haven't beaten them since 2020, and they haven't won at home since 2012. as the Saints try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2013. The Saints, it's all they are is just defense. So far, the Saints have been kind of disappointing me. Their defense is still playing good. Offensively, they've not been playing good. Carr has not been really impressing me whatsoever. I was expecting a lot more than this. Packers, meanwhile, oh man, they had it against the Falcons and they choked it away. They had a 12-point lead and they blew it. And Jordan Love still playing very good. I think he has like 6 touchdowns total. He's looking really, really good. So far, living up to the hype. It's just the Falcons choked it away. This will be a very interesting game, but I'm thinking I'm going to pick the Packers for this one, as we'll see the Saints how they do against an actual good offense potentially. And then an AFC South matchup, as it's the Texans at the Jaguars. As the Jaguars won the last one, the Texans haven't beaten them since 2022, and the Jaguars haven't won at home since 2017, as the Texans try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2020. So, the Texans, they got smoked by the Colts at first. Then they pulled back a little bit to make it a little bit more respectable. And Stroud actually looked good, too. His first real good game. So, that's a good sight to see for him as well. Both he and Richardson are looking pretty good to start off their careers. Jaguars, meanwhile, all that good offense they had against the Colts completely disappeared against the Chiefs, as that was a defensive slugfest. Their defense did their job mostly, but their offense, they did not show up whatsoever. This will actually be interesting if Stroud plays good, but I'm going to pick the Jaguars for this one. And then it's the Broncos at the Dolphins for the first time since 2017, as the Broncos won the last one. The Dolphins haven't beaten them since 2017. No, yeah, 2017. And the Broncos haven't won in Miami since 2011. So, the Broncos are trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2020. The Dolphins are trying to go 3-0 for the second year in a row. The Broncos, the vibe of the team for me is completely different than it was last year. The offense is solid and good, and Russell Wilson's playing good so far. Their defense, however, is not good. They had a big lead against the Commanders, and they choked it. Oh my god. Wasn't it like 28-10 at one point or something like that? Huge lead, and they blew it, as another close game they had down the drain. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, their offense took a big step back against the Patriots, but they still managed to win, as they also have one of the best offenses in the league other than a Russian offense. This game, I feel, is going to be actually very interesting. I feel like this could be a high-scoring game, too. It's just going to depend on who do you trust more. And I think I'm going to pick the Dolphins for this one, but I don't think I would be surprised if the Dolphins get it. And then a battle between two playoff teams from last year trying to avoid 0-3, as the Chargers are at the Vikings for the first time since 2015. Chargers won the last one. The Vikings haven't beaten them since 2019. The Chargers haven't won in Minneapolis since 1993, as the Chargers try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2017. And the Vikings try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2020. So the Chargers, oh my god, another close game, but they blew it against the Titans, especially since their defense is one of the worst in the league so far. Jeez. Meanwhile, the Vikings, at first, they were getting obliterated by the Eagles, but then they made it a little bit respectable. Gee, it's weird. Primetime Kirk actually played like 1 p.m. Kirk. That's impressive, but they still couldn't get the win in the end. This will be high scoring, that's it for sure. It's going to come down to, do you trust either team's offense more, or which one defense you trust more? This might be a close one, but I think I'll still pick the Chargers for this one, but I won't be surprised if the Vikings get it. And then an actual big AFC East matchup, as the Patriots are at the Jets. The Patriots won the last 14. The Jets haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Patriots try to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2000. As the Patriots had a hard-fought game, but just couldn't do it against the Dolphins, as they try to get their first win of the year. The Jets, of course, going back to how they were last year, when I was fearing they would happen without Rodgers. I was hoping maybe since Wilson played a little bit better against the Bills, maybe he could step it up, but nope. He played like he's done the last 2 years, as the Jets got obliterated by the Cowboys, as they have one of the worst offense in the league, and their defense, which was so good last week, took a major step back. So, it's going to come down to who you trust more, and I do trust Jones more. But remember, both games against the Patriots last year, Jets almost beat them. It was close, both games. So I think their defense with a much easier opponent might actually do it again. So I'm going to pick the Jets once again, but I won't be surprised if the Patriots get it. Then it's the Bills at the Commanders for the first time since 2015, as the Bills won the last two. The Commanders haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Bills haven't won in FedEx since 2007, as the Commanders try to go 3-0 for the first time since 2005, as the Bills showed that last loss against the Jets. I don't know why this is like this fifth number, so I don't know which is which. I guess let's keep it there for right now. But the Bills got a right game, destroying the Raiders. Told you all that was mostly just due to the Jets that they played so terribly. Meanwhile, the Commanders, what a big comeback they had to beat the Broncos, as they're 2-0, a surprising 2-0 as well. Their stats so far are pretty around average to good still. Maybe are they a actual legit team, or are they just getting lucky because both their wins were close? So this will be very interesting to see when they play an actual hard team as in the Bills. But I'm going to pick the Bills for this one. And then we get to the 4 p.m. games, as it's the Panthers at the Seahawks for the second year in a row. Panthers won the last one. The Seahawks haven't beaten them since 2019, and they haven't won at home since 2016, as the Panthers try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2010, I think, as the Panthers, another hard-fought, defensive struggle, but they couldn't beat the Saints, as their offense still looks horrible. I think Young played better, but he still has not been playing very good so far. Seahawks, meanwhile, after getting obliterated by the Rams, they needed that win against the Lions, and they got it. Their stats look terrible still, especially defensively, but they still got the win to still keep their season in a good spot. And I'm going to pick the Seahawks for this one, even though the Panthers beat them last year, so I guess I won't be surprised if they do it again. And then it's the Cowboys at the Cardinals for the first time since 2017, as the Cardinals won the last two. The Cowboys haven't beaten them since 2017, and the Cardinals haven't won at home against them since 2011, as the Cowboys try to go to 3-0 for the first time since 2019, and the Cardinals try to avoid a 0-3 for the first time since 2018. So the Cowboys obliterated the Giants and Jets, as they have the best point differential in the league. Their defense is elite. Offensively, they're looking really good, but are they legit, or are they just lucky because they're going up against terrible teams to start off the year pretty much? And of course, that continues with the Cardinals. The Cardinals, meanwhile, they're supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league, but I have a lot more faith in them than I do in a whole bunch of other teams. 2 games in a row, they could have started 2-0, but they choked it away. A 20-0 lead, and then a 28-7 lead on the Giants, and you still couldn't win? Like, what the hell is this? Absolutely embarrassing for the Cardinals that they couldn't pull the trigger to finish it. And now they're going to have to go up against an actual good team, so I'm going to pick the Cowboys for this one. But remember, historically, the Cowboys struggle when they visit the Cardinals, so don't be surprised if the Cardinals finally get it right and get the win. And then it's the Bears at the Chiefs for the first time since 2015. The Chiefs won the last one. The Bears haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Chiefs haven't won at home since 2003, as the Bears try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2016. As the Bears continue to look horrible, like one of the worst teams in the league, as they lost to the Buccaneers. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they still don't look pretty, but they got the needed victory against the Jaguars thanks to their defense to get their first win of the year. I'm picking the Chiefs for this one. There we go. And then we get to Sunday night, the game that should not have been on the list whatsoever, as it's the Steelers at the Raiders for the first time since 2018. As the Steelers won the last one, the Raiders haven't beaten them since 2021, and the Steelers haven't won on the road against them since 1995. As the Steelers, what an ugly game it was, as they still look pretty bad, but the Steelers, as I predicted, got the win on the Browns, as they're still hanging in there. Meanwhile, the Raiders, all that hype I thought I had with them when they beat the Broncos, completely went to shit when they got obliterated by the Bills, as these two, already 2 games in, look like 2 of the worst teams in the league. Ugh, absolutely disappointing. And of course, the Steelers' defense played so good, I think I'm going to trust them more, so I'm going to pick the Steelers for this. And then we get to our 2 Monday night games, starting off with a huge one in the NFC, surprisingly, as it's the Eagles at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2018. The Buccaneers won the last 3. The Eagles haven't beaten them since 2013, as the Eagles try to go to 3-0 for the second year in a row. The Buccaneers, meanwhile, are trying to go 3-0 for the first time since 2005. As the Eagles, they still don't look pretty. They're not blown out teams like they did earlier last year, but they still are 2-0 as they beat the Vikings. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, hard-fought game, but they beat the Bears as they're hanging in there, surprisingly hanging in there at 2-0, lead the division. this could be an interesting game. I can see maybe the Buccaneers maybe pulling off an upset potentially, especially since their defense is so good. But I still think I trust the Eagles more, so I'm going to pick them. And then we get to our last Monday night game and the rematch of the Super Bowl 2 years ago, as it's the Rams at the Bengals for the first time since 2015, as the Rams won the last one. The Bengals haven't beaten them since 2015, and the Rams haven't won in Cincinnati since 1999, as the Bengals try to avoid 0-3 for the first time since 2019. The Rams, it was an ugly game. Statistically, they still look good, but it was an ugly game as they lost to 49ers. Meanwhile, the Bengals, still not looking really good. They have like one of the worst offense in the league as they lost to the Ravens. Not a good sign. And Joe Burrow is injured again, and I just saw this from Ian Rappaport early on Twitter that he wasn't practicing, sounds like. So, that's not a good sign. But I still am going to... This is probably a bold pick, since I have no idea if Burrow's going to play, but I still think I'm going to pick the Bengals for this one. I feel like this so far, just 0-2 starts just going to be like last year when I start off 0-2 and then they got right. Alright, so those are my picks for week 3. I cannot wait for Giants at 49ers tonight. So my picks, the 49ers over the Giants, Ravens over the Colts, Browns over the Titans, Seahawks over the Falcons, Packers over the Saints, Jaguars over the Texans, Dolphins over the Broncos, Chargers over the Vikings, Patriots over the Jets, Bills over the Commanders, Seahawks over the Panthers, Cowboys over the Cardinals, Chiefs over the Bears, Steelers over the Raiders, Eagles over the Buccaneers, and Bengals over the Rams. So see you guys next time for week 4.